Joining me now is Ian Harris. He's the president and CEO of Libero Copper. Great to see you.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
So you believe that you're sitting on 1 billion ton potential with your projects in Colombia, Argentina, and BC. So can you give us a bit of an overview here?
So a little bit of background. I'm a mining engineer, 25 years working in the industry, and my focus is work on projects that have the opportunity to become future mines. So when we look at things, we look at the criteria, we look at the supply-demand gap in copper. The world needs larger size projects, and so that is one of the significant check boxes we have. We are looking for projects that have a pathway of potentially getting above those sizes. So we have projects in Argentina, in Colombia, and British Columbia, and we are working on checking those boxes to make sure they have a pathway to become future producers.
So at Mocoa in Colombia, you produced the first ever copper at the laboratory level. So what's the significance of that? And I'm also curious about the relationships. You live down there. So what are the relationships you're forging with the local communities and the governments as well?
So that's a very long answer. But if we look at what's happening in the world, we're really going through a decentralization. Countries such as Colombia say, we are dependent on oil and gas. 60% of our exports are oil and coal. We are transitioning, either political decision or as a world decision. So what do we replace that with? And they're looking at it and saying the old model is broken. The United States has passed their own laws trying to bring production home, bring back the manufacturing. And that is creating the opportunity for Colombia. Mocoa demonstrates that it's on the most prolific belt that goes from Chile all the way through Panama. We have a massive copper potential. Mocoa proves it. But we need to make sure that production goes into some sort of production chain. And that's where we're aligning ourselves with the Colombian government by demonstrating it is possible to produce copper in Colombia. And that is a part of that process. And a lot of the work we're doing, Mocoa has 2 million tons of copper in the ground. The value is not adding additional pounds. The advantage is demonstrating there's a clear pathway to bring this project into production. And that is the work that we're doing currently with the Colombian government. How do they use Mocoa to underpin a reindustrialization of the country? That is the importance that project can have and play. It's not necessarily just on the copper, but the added value that could be created as the world is moving towards electric vehicles, as the world is moving towards sustainable energy.
Now, Ian, you know that CEOs like it when, investors like it when CEOs know that somebody has had some previous success, and you had that with Corriente. So natural question is, what is the end game? Build out the resource and sell? Is that the plan, or is everything on the table at this point?
If we look at the two closest copper projects operating to Mocoa, one is Mirador, where I previously worked and got that project into start of construction and then subsequent sale. And the other one right up the road is Cobre Panama, where our director, Ernie Mass, did the same thing. So we share notes all the time. What is everything that we learned in getting two of the biggest projects and the first in the history of those two countries in production? And basically, it's all about creating really solid relationships, real relationships locally. We actually have the first participation and inclusion agreement with our local communities at Mocoa, the first in the history of the country, to make sure that we're co-planning the project together with them. The other is reputation on a national level. That's why I live in Colombia. I'm fluent in Spanish. Make sure we are a part of the leadership that helps develop the strategies for the country themselves. We're seen as an expert. When reporters have questions, they call us so that we can talk about these types of issues. And that helps develop political will and drives the direction of those countries. So that recipe is going to be reapplied. And then the question is, what is the end game? The end game is, the truth is, you have to act all the time and think like you are going to put these projects into production. Because sometimes they're bought out after your first resource is put out. Sometimes it's when you start construction. Sometimes it's never. But as long as you walk the talk, that is the best way possible to de-risk a project, is pretend like you are going to put it into production. And that's the attitude we're taking.
Right, and that makes sense. And I have seen you quoted in a number of Colombian newspapers and so on. So that's great stuff. Now, just lastly, at Esperanza, you're getting ready to restart. You've got a 5,000 meter drill program planned. Can you elaborate on that project?
Yeah, it's difficult when we have such wonderful assets and forget there's more wonderful assets. In Argentina, we're actually in the final stages of permitting to advance that project. Actually, here at upcoming PDAC, we have a meeting with the Minister of Mines and the Vice Governor of San Juan to say, we're going through the final steps. Again, not just push to push, but work together to say, okay, make sure that once this project starts, that we're going on the correct pathway, working together with the local community, working together with the government. And I think we're really in the final stages in order to advance that project. It's very exciting with the last hole ever drilled into it, over 300 meters at a 0.75 equivalent and over 230 meters at a 1% from surface. So it's a very, very exciting project to be able to get removing and moving forward.
We're feeling your passion, Ian. Good stuff.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Great to see you. Okay, we'll see you again. Ian Harris, the President and CEO at Libero Copper.